How's it going? So in this video, I'm going to break down the conditioning strategy to make sales without nurturing or constantly value posting. Because what I see a lot in the marketing and business space is that people have this belief that in order to get someone to buy from you, they need to consume X amount of content, you need to warm them up, etc. And if you're getting freebie seekers, then you're just not nurturing people enough, right? And I'm here to tell you that from my experience, that's complete bullshit, right? And I'm going to explain why and also sort of give you the conditioning strategy that will allow you to sell from day one. So, people attract shitty leads and then try to fix it with nurturing. They post their 3 steps to get XYZ result where they outline and detail everything, and they give away their best ideas and stuff for free in hopes that people will consume it and then ascend to, higher ticket stuff, what have you. And they build these extensive free lead magnets and very long email welcome sequences to basically try to get the same result, more sales, right? But then they wonder why nobody buys, right? Because they're following the common advice. They're following what Alex Hormozi is saying about nurturing, giving value, etc. And it's just not working the way that they expect. And I'm not here to throw trash on, Alex Hormozi. I love him in many ways, but for a lot of people, this strategy doesn't really work. I'm going to explain why and why it may work for someone like Alex Hormozi, so you don't get it twisted. So the behavior of giving free value all the time actually conditions your audience to consume and not pay. So let me explain this. So you're basically teaching your audience that your best work is free, right? And if they can get everything for free from you, why would they pay? That's just, a simple question. If they at least perceive it so, right? If they perceive that you are someone who just gives away your best stuff for free, then there's no reason to actually buy from you, right? And what happens also when you constantly nurture and value post is that when you eventually sell, people can get annoyed and sometimes mad. And the reason is actually pretty simple. It has to do with expectations, right? And so when you give away your best stuff for free, and some people even sort of make this their brand identity where they say, I'm giving away all my stuff for free, don't listen to those guys who sell expensive coaching and courses. Like, I'm here to give you all the secrets for free, right? You've set this expectation that all your stuff is for free. So when you sell, it's sort of this bait and switch, right? And people get mad for that reason, right? Because the truth is that you're always building a story in your audience's mind about who you are and what you are actually about, right? And so when you give away all your stuff for free, the story that they build in their head about you is that you're someone who gives away the best stuff for free. And so when you act incongruently with that story, then you can break trust and people will also get mad at you, right? And so, in other words, you're not actually attracting freebie seekers, you're creating them. Just to be clear, this isn't black and white. I'm not saying that if you nurture, you can't get sales. There's a bit more nuance to marketing, right? In some cases, nurturing helps, but I'm here to tell you that at the same time, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot, right? Because you're creating freebie seekers, okay? And so does this mean that you should just never give value and just hard sell all the time? No. If you do that, people will probably hate you, right? If you just sell and people don't see a reason to consume your content, then you can't really build an audience at all. And so here's the real question: if you shouldn't give value all the time and you shouldn't sell all the time, then what do you actually do? Some people try to solve this with like ratios where they say, well, for every post that you sell in, you should make, 10 value posts, or, this is how they justify the welcome sequences that, take weeks for people to go through before they see an offer from you, etc. And again, that sort of can work. I'm not saying you get zero sales if you do this, but the thing is that you're actually only relying on like reciprocity to make people buy from you. You're hoping that they almost feel like obligated because of all the value that they've received. And that's a very weak strategy because there's no actual predictability in that. The reason people do it is because they probably don't believe in what they have, or they just don't know how to sell. So they hope that people will just buy through reciprocity. And the thing that happens also is that people don't feel a need to buy from you because you've installed the belief in them that you give away your best stuff for free. So what is the need to actually buy from you, right? And you're not Alex Hormozi. And what I mean by this is that Alex Hormozi is obviously super rich, right? He makes $1 gazillion. He can afford to go weeks or months or even years without selling anything and just building a lot of goodwill and giving value, etc. So when he makes the ask, the reciprocity is so high that yes, he will make sales. Now, reciprocity is not obviously the only reason. The truth is that Alex Hormozi is a business, giant. So his positioning is very different than most other people's positioning, right? If you are someone who is making, 6 or let's say 7 figures, then can you actually afford to go, weeks on end without getting any sales? Just hoping that people will buy out of reciprocity. It's like, that's not really reliable. That's sort of building your marketing and your business on sand, if you ask me. So that's not, again, to say that Alex Hormozi's strategy is bad. I'm saying that for him, that probably works really well because of his positioning and where he's at. But as someone who's trying to scale and perhaps isn't already doing 9 figures, you can't really afford to just go weeks without making a single sale. So how do we resolve this? I'll tell you. And it basically involves challenging your idea of what value actually is. And so the thing is that right now I'm giving you value, right? But I'm not giving you some step-by-step checklist or 3 detailed steps to XYZ, right? Where I'm giving away all of my secrets. Instead, I'm challenging your current belief system, and I'm giving you new insights into how to do things differently. And I'm installing a new belief into you, which is you don't need to nurture or value post to make sales, in order to basically get you closer into my world and make you understand sort of my philosophy a little bit, so that we can potentially build, a better relationship. And so I'm basically helping you see beyond where you currently are, right? And this gives you the feeling of value, right? So it does 2 things. It makes you feel like you learned something new, right? And I really want to highlight feel here, because value is perceived, okay? it's not like value doesn't need to be some checklist or something super actionable, let's say. It's something that is perceived through, again, like insights or what have you, right? I'm making you see new opportunities and potential ways of doing things, right? And two, you start to understand how I think, right? So brings you closer into my world. And this way, you don't just like get value, but it's very specific value from a very specific person, right? And so notice something important though. Even though I'm explaining sort of what to do, in other words, give insights, challenge people sort of like paradigms and replace it with something new that gets people closer to you, right? I'm explaining the what of that, right? But you probably still don't know exactly how to implement this cleanly into your own business, okay? And so I'm giving you the what and the why, but not the how. So you sort of know what to do, or what at least you could test instead, and why the old method can shoot you in the foot, and why this new method can be something to explore, but I'm not explaining exactly how to do it, right? And so what this does is that it creates a gap, right? Because you feel now this sort of tension, the need to implement this into your own business, right? And that gives me the opportunity to then give you an offer that, you know, closes the gap or bridges the gap, right? And so that creates natural selling. It doesn't feel abrupt, and it doesn't, you know, feel irrelevant. It's actually relevant to the problem that I've outlined, right? And I'm setting the right expectations. I'm selling because I'm not here to run a charity. I actually run a business. I'm letting you know that the expertise is actually worth something, right? And I'm letting you know that my best ideas, let's say, aren't for free. And some people will get mad over that, right? They don't like that you sell, right? And that will always happen, like no matter what you do. And the truth is that those people aren't your ideal audience anyway. Like, just don't focus on them. The right people understand that if you want to get something, if you want to get value, then you have to give value. And in the context of business, getting value is your product, and giving value is money, right? There needs to be a transaction. Most people understand that, some don't. Don't worry about them, right? And so you can't please everyone, and that's fine. And so once you understand this, you can sell in every post or email that you make from day one, because the new insights and explaining the what and the why, but not the how, makes people feel like they are learning something, like they're getting something out of actually consuming your content. So you can actually like build an audience and build a relationship with the audience, and you're selling to set the right expectations so that the people who will get mad, they can, you know, get out of your list immediately. But it's natural selling, right? It doesn't feel abrupt or pushy or anything like that. You're just making an invitation to actually solve the problem that you've outlined in the piece of content, okay? And so I hope that makes sense. So what matters isn't whether you sell, it's how you sell. And by the way, if I did have a proven framework that you could plug into your content and marketing as soon as today, a proven conditioning framework, so you could brainwash your audience into buying from you while literally everyone else is giving away their best stuff for free, then I would tell you to click the link in my bio. and it would feel natural, right? Because I've outlined the problem with the old method and why it's bad, and I've given you sort of a new path that allows you to sell from day one, not give away your best stuff for free, and set the right expectations with your audience so you build the right story about who you are and what you are about, right? Now I'm just inviting you to capitalize on that in a fast and easy way. That's basically it, right? So it's about making just the call to action actually relevant to the content, to the problem. And you can do the same, right? You can do the exact same. So, hope this makes sense. Goodbye.